Hi all, I hope all of you are doing well. In this lecture I'm going to talk to you about diction, or how to focus your attention as a reader and as a writer on specific words in a text. Now this is a really simple, it should be a simple concept, so I'm going to just give you a few pointers, and then if you have any questions, as always, feel free to contact me with those questions. But when you're evaluating a text, whether it's your own or somebody else's, and you want to, focus on, am I using the appropriate individual words, or is someone else using the right words in their text, or how are they using them? The first thing you want to look for and look at is repeated words. Are there words that are repeated over and over again in the text? If so, what is the purpose of those words? What is the function? And we'll talk about some different functions to look at and consider momentarily. But again, first and foremost, look for repeated words. As you're looking for keywords, whether repeated or not, in this case, you want to look for verbs, especially what you would call transitive or action verbs. Now, there are two kinds of verbs. Transitive or action verb convey some sort of movement, something that's being done. Example of this would be run, jump, hit, slap, laugh, cheer. All these are action verbs, things that we do, things that we say, things that we can think. Action verbs, transitive verbs, are pivotal things to look at when we're analyzing diction, because especially transitive verbs have such a powerful effect, more so than any other category of words, on the development of ideas within a text. Let me give you just a couple sample sentences. If you were to say, John tapped his friend on the face. If we just say that someone tapped someone else, that is a very mild encounter. If we say, on the other hand, and change just one word and one verb and say, John punched his friend in the face or on the face, look how drastically our impression of that encounter changes. So look for those key verbs, verbs that convey action, things that we do, things that we say. Because again, those are really going to be the pivotal words that are really going to develop, both as a reader and a writer, how the text is meant to affect us and affect others in our audience. It often boils down to how well we select and use appropriate verbs. Okay? And then finally, as we're looking at these elements, whether it's repeated words or verbs or any other kind of category of key words in a text, like transitions, I want you to think about the following things. first, especially if we're dealing with those action verbs, how do they correspond to our senses? And what I mean by that is the five physical senses. So, do they connect us in some way to a feeling, a touch, to something that we see, something that we hear, something that we taste, so on and so forth? How do they connect us to those physical senses? Do they connect us to those physical senses? And then finally, as we're looking at pivotal words, reflect on a concept that we've already talked about a couple times, but again, this is why I spotlight it so often, because those three categories of ethos, logos, and pathos are so important, so impactful in how we can shape the development of a text and how it affects the reader. So as we're looking at pivotal words, you know, as we're digesting this idea of diction, we need to think about, once we've identified some of these pivotal words, think about, are these words being used to develop ethos, you know, an ethical claim, logos, a logical statement, or pathos, an emotion of some sort, whether it's, you know, joy, laughter, anger, hatred, love. You know, how are those keywords meant to affect the audience who's gonna take in that text and process it? So again, these are really the 3 points that I wanted for you to think about. Repeated words, verbs, especially transitive verbs, and then finally, sort of a lump category, reflect on how these keywords are connecting us to our physical senses, or to ethos, logos, and pathos. Okay, that's it for now, but as always, if you have any questions, concerns, anything that you don't understand, feel free to contact me. I'm always more than glad to answer your questions. And until next time, folks, have a great night. And bye.